Hey, everybody. Just wanted to welcome you to this call. We're on a call with um, Brian Smiley, who's a board member at Cherish, and then Sam Dratima, who's our country director. And we just thought it would be a good idea to kind of pull these guys into this conversation with you, our partners and donors at Cherish, just to kind of let you know how things have, in our current season of COVID, have impacted Cherish. And I know this is impacting all of you. It's crazy that one thing could impact literally everyone around the globe, and it's impacting your families and your work and your ministries, and it's kind of touching everything. And so Cherish is similar to that we also are being impacted. And so we just thought we'd kind of gather together and spend a few minutes sharing with you what some of that impact is, and then what even you can do about it moving forward. So thanks for joining us, and just sit back and grab a cup of coffee, and hopefully we won't take too much of your time.
Thanks, Brent. I wanted to kick us, Sam, if just being on the ground over there, can you tell us a little bit about how COVID-19 is affecting Uganda in general, and what the kind of response has been?
Okay. First of all, there are 53 cases of people that were tested positive, and today, 3 have recovered, and then people are not allowed to exercise on the roads as they've been doing before. You can only be allowed to do exercise from your house, and that was a directive from the president this week. We have many different spaces within the country where people who are suspected to be infected are taken and quarantined. And one of those spaces is a hotel that is in this village where we are as Cherish. The restrictions around transport, people are not allowed to use their private cars to move to different places. Different stores, food stores have been are open, but then other stores that sell things that are not specifically food items, all are closed in such a time. You're allowed to walk on foot, but not past 7 p.m. You can ride your own bicycle, you can ride a motorcycle. Here in Uganda, we call those borders. You can ride that, but not beyond 2 p.m. The bicycle can go on until evening, but you don't exceed 7 p.m. From 7, there are no movements. Everyone is expected to be at their home. And then there are some people who had come up to distribute food to those who are not working, because most people that do businesses that are not specifically related to food have been closed. And so the people out there that are not working and have no food, and the government has stopped anyone else from distributing food in the country, and it only has to be the government that distributes. And they say anyone that wants to distribute food, you bring the food to the government, and then the government will be the one responsible over the distribution of the food.
Great. Yeah. That's really helpful. Sam, can you tell us about, in that bigger context, what are we doing on the ground at Cherish to help keep our staff and our students and everyone else safe?
We have hand washing spaces in different places. At the hospital, we have the hospital team equipped with the right gears as they work on people that come at the hospital. And as you know, people might come having temperatures and other different health complications, but then because we are in such a time, they have to be very careful, because you never know, it could be the virus. So all the health workers are equipped to do that. We decided to use one gate. As Cherish, we have 2 gates that we've used before, but currently we only have one gate that is open, and that's the only gate that everyone is supposed to use, because we want to make sure everyone that comes through the gate washes hand or is sanitized, and then after that their temperature has to be taken, just to make sure we don't have any gaps left out. We also have a health team in the few days past. They went out and worked with the different businesses within the community, people that have a big number of people working for them. The hospital team went out there to try and bring awareness of COVID-19 to all these different spaces. And then we also are encouraging people to just make sure they are restricting the movements when they're out there. The people that are currently working are only those who live within the community, and then a few that we really need on to continue working, the people that are working with the hospital, and then a few others who work with the family strengthening department. And many of those have been asked to come and live on site to just try and avoid movements out there and chances of someone getting the virus and infecting others.
Can you speak, hey, Sam, one thing that's been on the forefront of my mind is knowing, a lot of our, a lot of the kids that we work with are HIV positive. And I know a big portion of the Ugandan population is HIV positive. That feels like that would be right in the crosshairs of people who are the most at risk. Is that the case?
Yes, it is, but all the people that are HIV positive are being encouraged to just make sure they are taking their medicines as they should. And it's difficult for children and even adults in a time like this where there's a complete lockdown and there's no public transport, for people who have to go and get their medicines from different hospitals. We had a case of a child that called our team here because they could not walk to the hospital because the hospital is far, and the medicine that this child has was getting used up in just 3 days. And we had to figure out how to get the medicines to this family. And when they connected to this to one of the people that are in the family strengthening department, this person connected with the hospital, and we were lucky that the hospital here at Cherish had the ARVs that this child needed to take. And so we figured out, and the medicine got to this specific child. And we know that there are many other people who are going to face the same situation, but around the country, the discussions around how to see that these people are able to be supported even in a time like this, that they get their medicines at the right time so they can be protected from this virus.
Yeah, and probably one of the most difficult decisions we've made is really, as we move forward, is asking the question, how do we protect that kind of core ministry of our social work team? Because that's the team that family strengthening department is the team that's really connecting with families and kids and really knows and has a really deep relationship with those families. And we don't operate on with a reserve, and when a time like this happens, it's difficult as we look at funding and the future being unknown and not sure how to walk through this kind of unprecedented time for us. So we did make a really difficult decision to close our schools and for the remainder of 2020, and that's 240 or 254 students then, and then those families that are impacted without an education now for the remainder of 2020. And in that process, we also laid off 39 workers, which is really hard. Teachers, people who work in our dorms, cook, cleaner, and driver. And so we still are serving those families. So our social work team, we actually moved some of those education staff onto our social work team to really bolster that team at this point. But that team is really focused on the basics of food and healthcare. But then there's all the psychosocial issues that are happening as families can't move and they're in homes and not going to school and fearful of the virus and like a whole host of issues. And so that social work team is really, really key. And so the most difficult decision we've made at this point so far was to close our schools for the remainder of 2020.
Yeah, Sam, on the social work team, anything else you can add about kind of specifically what we're doing to make sure that our core ministry stays intact through all of this?
The team is currently making phone calls to the different families just to inform them around the decision that was made about school closing for the rest of the year, and responding to the questions and the different needs that might be there. We are on a lockdown, and the team cannot move to the different spaces. But the only thing they can do right now is engage those families through phone calls. And it's talking to the child and talking to maybe the adult in that family, and encouraging them through this time, praying together with them, and trying to disciple from far away. And that's how the team is trying to engage now. And then the team is also trying to work with local leaders right now, just to make sure that the distribution of food that the government is doing right now, that the food really gets to the right people. And so we have a lot of families we're working with in our communities, and we've sent those lists to the local leaders. And then we also have the phone numbers of all the different people. So once the food shows up, the local leaders will let us know that the food has showed up, and then our team will step out there to try and support these local leaders to just make sure that this food gets to the right people that it needs to get to.
Wow, that's really great. Brent, can you walk us through what some of the plans are going forward? I know there's a lot of uncertainty in general, but how are we thinking about 2021 and beyond, or even later in 2020?
Yeah. Our social work team, they're currently working through how are we ministering to these families beyond a phone call during this lockdown time. In fact, they're in a meeting as we speak, talking through some of those issues. And then how, once we are free to start to move again, how do we now engage with these families without school for 2020? We don't have online learning capabilities and some of those things that are a little easier accessible in other countries. So we do hoping to reopen our schools in 2021. That's the goal, is to get through this time, get our finances bolstered back up, build a reserve, and work to a point that we are back even stronger than we were before. We're hoping to, we're working through the Ministry of Health. Our hospital is. We'd love to be a testing site and kind of support the government if possible during this time. So we're ready to go with that. We have what we need to make that happen. There's one part of the test that they would give to us at that point, and then we'd be able to make that happen. Like I said, our family strengthening department and hospital, those are the two key things that are pushing forward right now. And we really feel like those strong hubs and cores will be able to care for our families during this time. And we hope to bring our education staff back in later this year, so we can prepare well and get things rolling for next year.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, I wanted to I wanted to kind of start wrapping us up, and this information has been really, really good. Thank you, Sam, for walking us through what's going on the ground, and to all of the donors who are watching this, thank you for being a part of the team. Brent uses that language a lot, and that it is really how we think of you. Everyone is playing their part and doing their role to keep God's work moving ahead in Uganda, and specifically at Cherish. The impact there is tremendous, and we know even through this that God is in control of COVID-19, and He's going to make His name great even as we navigate this uncertainty.
Yeah, it really is a team. It really is a team sport, what we're doing, and we do really need everybody, and we're really grateful. Just a quick note for those of you who are 6-3 Exchange donors and partners, we'll be sending you an email that will just kind of lay out kind of what that looks like, what your funds will be specifically going towards during kind of this time. So if you don't hear from us, that means somehow we have a wrong email for you, and just if you can just hit us up at info@cherishuganda.org, we'll get you that email and get you back on track. And if anyone has any questions about any of this, we are an open book. We have nothing to hide, and there's an answer for every question, and we'd love to answer them. So please, you can send us an email at that info@cherishuganda.org, and we will engage with you for sure. And but as we go, I'd just like to share. This is a verse, Psalm 81:10. I ran across this a couple weeks ago, and God's saying, "I am the Lord your God who brought you up out of Egypt. Open wide your mouth, and I will fill it." And God brought the Israelites from Egypt, from a really difficult, oppressive time in their history, and it was a difficult journey to bring them out of Egypt and bring them eventually to the Promised Land. But God protected His people, and He provided for them. And I firmly believe God's going to do the same for us. He's going to pull us through this time, and no matter what it is you're enduring, God's going to pull you through. He promises to be present, and He promises to care for us. And so God's going to do the same with Cherish, and we are grateful to be a part of His filling the mouths of the people that we're caring for, and couldn't do without you. So thank you for your part you're all playing. All right, Sam. Thanks for joining us. There's much to be thankful for in this time, and we're thankful for the work that Sam's doing and the team on the ground. And thank you, Brian. The board is also very engaged in all this and working through with us. And thanks, guys, for joining the call this morning. So we'll see you all later.